agenda. If the item you're interested in speaking on is on the agenda, please wait until that we get to that item, and then you can share public comment during that time.
Okay, it looks like we have Joyce Logan.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi, Joyce.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I just want to tell you there's two different agendas posted on the city website, so people are confused about what's on this agenda. The one at the top is different from the one that's in the archive.
Yes, tonight's meeting is a special agenda, and it only includes two of the items from last week's agenda, so that we can get right down to business. I'm going to just take a quick look at, oh, I see. The May 31st shows up as archived and that's the one from last week. Huh.
Okay,
no,
just a report,
this is right.
just a quick report from Adam. I just connected with him. He's still at work, but he will be joining our meeting shortly as soon as he can.
Okay. Joyce, I'm looking at the two agendas and I don't see the difference. Can you tell me what's different about the two?
Okay. In the one that's in the archive, it shows Pumpkin Festival mural project update and Carter Park statue deaccessioning as the topics.
Oh.
The one up higher above, it shows Pumpkin Festival mural project update and Smithfield master plan as being what's going on.
That is right. So Maggie, if you can check with the clerk to see how we get the archived one removed. That one isn't even a real agenda. Like it doesn't represent any sort of meeting. So that's an odd one. So it's the one that shows as the active meeting at the top that we're working from tonight. Thank you, Joyce.
You bet.
Okay, do we have any other public comment? Okay, then I will be giving a brief presentation on the first item, which is an update on the mural project. I will share my screen. This is actually Victor Gaitan's project, but he had a conflict tonight with the special meeting. He was prepared to present last week, so I'll be doing the presentation tonight. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
So this is the 50th Annual Pumpkin Festival Commemorative Mural Project. As many of you know, the 50th Annual Pumpkin Festival is coming up on October 16th and 17th of this year. You can see the URL to visit the website for the festival and to see and understand what's planned. A little background on the Pumpkin Festival. It was organized beginning in 1971 by a nonprofit called the Main Street Beautification Committee. And its initial purpose was to support the revitalization of Main Street and downtown, which apparently needed to happen in 1971. And they've done a lot of work over the years, and we continue to work on to this day. Over time, it's also grown, obviously, to be a large festival, and so it supports the economy, and it's a major fundraiser for our local nonprofits each year. It involves hundreds of volunteers from the coast side and is one of the largest festivals in California. I do want to point out they have a beautiful logo this year that's in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And in it, you can see a picture of the Johnston House, which I think most people know and see as they drive south on Highway 1 up on the hillside. That's a city-owned property, and that's operated by a nonprofit, the Johnston House Foundation. They're actually celebrating their own 50th anniversary of the formation of that foundation and the beginning of the work on that building. So it's pretty cool that that icon shows up here as well. I just wanted to point that out, and we'll be doing some celebrations later in the year for that. As you can see, some of the wonderful sights and sounds from the Pumpkin Festival, from the high school marching band to the booths to everybody's favorite parade, and of course the great pumpkin way off. So to commemorate and celebrate this really important event being the 50th anniversary, the city is commissioning a mural in downtown Half Moon Bay. And the owners of Cunha's Country Store have generously offered up the wall of their building that faces MacDutra Plaza right there at Kelly and Main Street as the palette for this mural, which will be wonderful. It'll sit right at the heart of town for at least the next decade and really highlight this really important part of our community. I will point out there was some confusion based on an article that was published in the Review and the sale of the store. That doesn't affect the building or the mural. So we continue to work with the property owner, and they're very supportive and will be moving forward. And the goal is to have the mural completed and ready for viewing before the festival in October. The process that we have in our public arts policy includes requests for qualifications, where we just gather the credentials of interested artists, and then a short list of those will be invited to actually submit a design under a request for proposal process. We'll be utilizing a community mural advisory committee to help us make that short list decision from the RFQ, as well as select or make a recommendation on which of the mural designs we should move forward with. That recommendation will be brought to you as a commission to review yourselves and comment on and finalize your own recommendation, which will then go to the council. This is just a sample of some of the marketing materials that we put out, and we've gotten a good response on. The RFQ submission period actually closes this week on the 2nd, and the committee will be reviewing the RFQ responses the week of June 9th. And then on June 15th, the shortlist will be invited and actually given a stipend to draw up a design for competing against each other for the final design. And part of the purpose of the Mural Advisory Committee is it's really a diverse group of arts, culture, history folks from the community, Main Street businesses, obviously representation from the Main Street Beautification Committee who puts on the festival. And they'll, not only will that group be helping us make our selection, they'll also be commenting on the types of things that should be included in the mural and the character of the mural. Ultimately, the artists will create their own designs and we'll have to pick from the designs that are submitted. But we think we've got a good group that will help us really come up with the best design. Those artwork proposals are due July 10th. And the final recommendations will be brought to you at your July 27th meeting. If things move a little more quickly, we may call a special meeting in July of this group just to keep the process moving more quickly, which will give the artist more time to do the actual work on the building. But under worst case scenario, we see this going to the council for final recommendation on the 2nd or the 16th of August. August 2nd is canceled because of National Night Out, and that's usually the recess for the council, but we may hold a special meeting again to keep the process moving. And then the mural will be completed no later than October 7th. It'd be great to have a great unveiling and people see it for the first time on October 7th or before then. Not really possible given the location. So I think people will just be able to enjoy seeing it come together piece by piece, and it'll be really exciting to see happen there in our downtown. Any questions on this project or this process or your role in this process?
I have a question, and you may have said it, and I really apologize if you did, okay. But I was distracted by a message I just got. What happened last time we were together? You mentioned that the sale of the store.
I did mention there was some confusion from an article that was in the Review that was unclear. Once I had the full story and I read the Review article, it's fine. But if you don't have all the information, it could be confusing. The business may be sold. The property will be retained by the current owners who are very supportive of the project. So the project is moving forward.
Oh, I see. So they're going to still be the owners of the building that just would be selling the business.
Potentially. It's just something they're exploring.
Right.
So, but yeah, we're confirmed as of today, very supportive. Actually, the owner of the store or the building will be on our advisory committee as the property owner. So very engaged and very excited.
So something I recommend at least is to, have on our Facebook page, the Parks and Recreation Facebook page, to kind of keep building the components as the weeks go, as time goes by. This is how far we've gotten, on the mural, so that there's like a building towards the end result.
Sure, and we can do that through our e-news as well.
Yeah, okay, good.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
That's exciting.
Yeah. How about any public comments? Looks like we have one hand raised. I'm not sure if it's for this item.
All right, Joyce Logan again.
You need to unmute, Joyce, if you're going to talk. I still see you. Yeah, good.
There we go.
I lowered my hand.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Joyce.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then with that, we will move on to the next item, which is, the item that we're all, I think, here to participate in. Welcome back, John Dowdy, our Public Works Director, and I'll let him introduce Melanie, our consultant, and very excited for this presentation tonight.
Thank you, and I've been out and about at the yard all day, so I'm wearing the hat, and I'd be hat head, so I decided just to keep it on. So I apologize. Go Hawks! So we spent a lot of money there, so thankfully we can at least have a hat out of it. In any event, I am really pleased to be here. Sorry we had a little bit of a hiccup last week, but that's okay. We're here, and we're thrilled to be here. Melanie Reynolds from Gates is here, and she will do a lot of the presentation. I wanted to just kind of talk just briefly about a little bit of how we got here, and ultimately just talk about sort of the next steps piece of this. I know it's a little odd in terms of talking the next steps, but I think it sort of fits into the mix before we get into a conversation about what the plan looks like, and then ultimately to get input from the community, see how hopefully those have been aligned with your prior meeting and comments that we got, and kind of moving forward down the road. So to go back in the sort of the Wayback Machine, Smithfield has been historically and traditionally the Little League field, and they have operated there for many years. The city is a fairly recent owner to the property, and we have made some improvements. We've worked with the Little League and went and entered into a new agreement with them 3 years ago, and we have an ongoing relationship. We also have an ongoing relationship with the Horseshoe Club, and we also maintain a very strong relationship with the dog park users. Although they used to be an actual agreement holder, we decided that it was time that they probably should be relieved of those requirements, and we should just take care of the dog park and work with them just as citizens and residents and users. In any event, we had a donor come forward indicating to the Little League, who indicated a willingness and an interest in maybe making some improvements to Smithfield. And the long story short, we went to the council, and the council agreed that we should do some facilities planning for Smithfield, do some basic estimating of cost, so we can have an informed conversation with the donor, and we can have also an informed conversation with the community about what things might look like out there and what those cost, and how we start to look at making Smithfield probably what really should be the community park for Half Moon Bay. So that's kind of where we kick this off, and Melanie will go into a lot of the background in terms of the outreach, stakeholder meetings, all the things that go with that. But succinctly, we have been meeting with folks for many months now, working through these plans. Again, we are talking about basically a facilities master plan. This was identified as something that we should follow up and do from the parks master plan that was developed several years ago and adopted. And this is just one of those. We are looking to, we did a facilities master plan of sort with Frenchman's Creek Park. We're going to look at one Kehoe Park. And also we're looking at one in 23-24 for the train depot, Johnston House. So these are just the next steps sort of in looking at and identifying what the community wants to see and how we move forward. So sort of the next step to this, and then I'll turn it over to Melanie to go through her presentation, is that tonight we are asking and hoping for a positive recommendation to bring this to the council on the 21st for them to consider accepting this report and allowing us to move this forward in the context of presenting this to the potential donor and their group in the Little League to basically say, okay, now we have this facilities master plan. We have some estimates of cost. Do we, can we talk about, formalizing that relationship? Beyond that, that will be, I think, a pretty significant decision point. If we get positive feedback from that, our next step would be to actually move forward with a coastal development permit, the entitlement and permitting, which would go through our planning commission, and we would finalize and formalize a lot of the work that's been done around the biological resource assessment. And that would be sort of that next step. And we would start also work then in whatever piece of this project that we're looking to move forward. Particularly, we would be working on 35% design and working to 95% design. So this would be subject to a bid. So the main issue for tonight, I just wanted to be clear, is a hope that that this will be recommended to the council for their consideration. And we are looking at right now, June 21st, depending on your decisions and the community's input to this point. The community will have an opportunity to speak, obviously, as a public meeting and a public hearing item with the council whenever they see this. And ultimately, just want to be clear that this is just one step in a number of steps here, and it could stop at this point once the council says it, and this could go on the shelf, or it could be something that we continue to move forward with. I think all of us are hopeful that we will continue to move forward into the next years to see improvements and significant, really meaningful improvements to Smithfield. So with that, I will turn it over to Melanie and to walk through the more formalized presentation and the history a little bit and getting to that point.
Thanks, John. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to come back, and glad we've figured out a date that works for everyone past last week. So let's get into it. Can everybody see my screen? I hope you can. All right. So once again, who are we? I'm Melanie Reynolds with Gates & Associates. We're landscape architects and planners in Walnut Creek, California. I am a landscape architect and your project manager. And so what have we done thus far? Efforts to date for the Smithfield Facilities Master Plan. We've done a site assessment, we've done public outreach, and then we developed 3 concepts, which you guys reviewed last time. Just to refresh everyone's memory, this is Smithfield. That is the approximate project boundary we are looking at. Obviously, there's the existing ball fields, the horseshoes, the dog park, access to open space, and then the parking lot. So what we discovered in site assessment, just to refresh everyone's memory again, is the impacts of the wetlands on the site and the biological habitat. So a lot of what we're looking at as far as improvements are really constrained by these wetlands. You can see by the blue, they impact where current uses are. And then our quote unquote opportunity areas for expansion are over on this east side or the right side of your site, where there's some really nice existing trees and some pretty decent open space. So we presented last time 3 concepts. I'll go through them quickly so you remember. Concept A was very minimal. It was improve the parking lot with the donor money. That's kind of what their shtick is. So that would be what it is. We don't improve anything else. We just increase parking. Or we might add some project signage. So concept B is a bit more of a, broad strokes here. So we would, as with concept A, improve the parking lot. We would pave the maintenance road, kind of up the middle of the fields. We'd include project signage. We would improve and renovate all the ball fields, but they would stay in their current locations. We would relocate the snack shack to kind of an area more in the park and not kind of, on this side near the parking lot, kind of more central. We would create several new picnic zones along the parking lot and then also in the center of the ball fields. We would expand the dog park. So its current shape, as you can kind of see, we have the aerial under here. It's this kind of, shadowy size. So we're looking at increasing it and creating both a small dog park and a large dog park that are fenced and off leash. We have created a plaza, like kind of an entry plaza as you arrive in, with a picnic area, play area, and restroom. There is a new sport court area over here. This has basketball, 1 sand volleyball, and 2 pickleball. And then we consolidated the storage, which is kind of like, all around the site in containers, into one area up here. And then we added nature paths in this kind of, long, skinny area for passive use and recreation, whether you're sitting and bird watching or, contemplation of the beautiful surroundings around you. Concept C was, kind of a big change, right? If we had, kind of our wishes here, this is what we would do. So we're improving the parking lot still. We're paving the maintenance access up the middle, project signage. This plan replaces and reorients the ball fields, knowing that they're kind of, they're usable and they're great, but they're a bit declining, and the grading and drainage is kind of leaves a lot to be desired. We thought just relocate them and relook at, make sure they're oriented correctly and redo them. This also leaves an opportunity, the way they are kind of ordered and separated, to possibly be done in turf if the baseball or Little League wanted to fundraise money and wanted to do that. We relocated the snack shack to the actual center and kind of the heart of the ball fields with a picnic area. We relocated the dog park to, this used to be field 4. Getting that wrong. The field that was up here, this too has 5, thank you. This too has a large and a small dog park so that, we can keep those dogs separate. And then a plaza with a picnic area down here in the corner when you arrive, a sport court area, once again with a basketball, sand volleyball, and 2 pickleball, consolidated the storage again. This also has the nature paths with seating kind of in the more, narrow area. And then this one, I think kind of the 2 biggest things is this field 3, which is currently the rec field for softball, would become a multi-use synthetic turf field. So it's this huge green area. The other big thing missing from here is horseshoes. So this plan assumes that the city and the horseshoe group can find another location that is suitable for the horseshoes to play at in the future. So those are kind of the 3 concepts. And then what we heard from you all is that from you guys and the public, is that there is a desire to keep the dog park in its current location. Where we showed it on option C was a bit too far for people with dogs and seniors to walk that far, especially seniors with small dogs. So we, look at trying to keep it in the same location, but make it bigger. Provide some separation from dog park and active uses. The last thing we want are the dogs get overwhelmed by kids screaming or, balls being hit hit or kicked and whatnot. Add parking area near the dog play and the dog park and play area, so that parents and dog park users don't have to traverse across plazas and play areas, once again, where it's very active uses to get to their intended location. Explore adding 3 sand volleyball courts. Is there a need for tennis courts? So we discussed a lot about the different wants of a sports court, what is really wanted by the community, what is needed, and I think that you'll see when we get to the preferred concept that we've kind of left that open. So it's kind of a nice little compromise there. And then also to add a picnic area beneath the existing trees. So that's these kind of nice, beautiful, mature trees provide a great opportunity for kind of a quiet picnic area that's kind of covered and fun, and serene. So based on what we've heard, we have kind of meshed concepts B and C, and what you see before you is what we are presenting to you as a preferred concept. So this keeps, once again, we have all of the parking as proposed. We extended the parking up, towards to where the new larger dog park area is. It's largely in the same location. It's just kind of scooched over so that they have their own kind of private entrance here, that they don't have to go through, all the kids playing. And then this huge area is for both large and small dogs. It's also, adjacent to kind of the nature path, so there's not any, competing active uses. We have still, the restroom here was moved away from the kind of entry front plaza to more central location, so that it's more easily accessed by the dog park users as well as the families or people using the play area. There are multiple picnic zones here with shade to allow for more users. Whether you want to rent them or not is up to the city. We still have the large multi-use synthetic turf field in the same location. The sports courts have been moved into this location, and we have kept it a kind of a blue box right now, because really when it's time for this, it would be great. I mean, you need to do outreach anyway. It'd be great to know what the actual needs of the community are. I should have one. I'll have it in a second. But we were able to, and I think it's on another slide, for just planning's sake, show 3 sand volleyball courts, a basketball court, and 2 pickleball, just to show that, what can fit there, and there's plenty of room if that's what is desired when this actually gets built. But for planning purposes, this is a sports court area, with rectangle, hard court surfaces or sand.
And if I could, just to remind, that active sports area is something that we and I think you also agreed, in the community was kind of saying, is like we want to be able to provide a place for the others, perhaps siblings and kids that go to, and have to be there sometimes at practice, that may not be active. They may be older, they may be younger, they may be whatever. So having the active sports area allows them to have something to do while maybe their siblings are doing baseball, soccer, whatever. I'd say the same goes for the playground, is that is available for the younger particularly, probably, but we can actually get multiple grade levels and age levels into that area. So it's a large area. So one, remember to make this more of a community park, that people come here for a reason other than just playing baseball. And that sport courts do that as well. But again, part of this issue is to try to create a multi-generational opportunity here, obviously, the fields and everything. So I just wanted to put that in there and the pitch for how that kind of evolved into that active sports court area.
Thanks, John. Yes, and it also is kind of tucked inside, so it's a little more protected, and you don't have basketballs flying into the parking and all that good stuff. So I think it makes a ton of sense to be in this location.
Can I add one more thing, Melanie? Yeah. And you'll show this when we get to the phasing piece, but I do want to remind folks that this is probably the last thing that gets done, because there's lots of dominoes that need to fall first as far as rebuilding and improving the baseball fields to allow, there's just a lot of steps between now and then. And so you'll see it as a later phase. And that's part of the reason we just felt like, right now pickleball is big, there's other things that are popular, things might change. We'll address that very specifically when we get to the point where we've got the funding and a chance to do some really great outreach at that point.
Yeah, and the good news is there's, quote unquote, plenty of space up there to kind of be a bit more flexible, and we don't have to, tie you guys into anything right here. One thing I should point out, because it might be kind of confusing and it's a little hard to tell on the screen, so I apologize, is our line changed a little bit here around the fields from the wetlands. So our limit of work is actually the current limit of development, what is currently there. So even though they infringe into the wetlands, you can, well, I'm really paraphrasing, John probably has a lot better input, but we can stay within our current limits of development. So that's what in the existing park area right around here, this is the area you are currently developed in already that isn't impacted by wetland, or it's just your current area of development. I'm sorry.
So remember, I'll just jump.
Yeah, go for it.
So these once you flip back, you should flip back to one of the ones where you see it. You see these are a combination of wetlands and buffer areas. And so what we're talking about is not wetlands in these areas as much as it is the 100-foot buffer areas that we've got. So as Melanie said, we all, based on input from Jill, Community Development Director, basically her recommendation was to, for the purposes of the plan, was to draw these lines around where our developed area was. Even though we've identified these and know that there are these constraints there, we do get the benefit of the developed areas. And so that's how we can kind of move it forward. And that's how that evolved to that point. So that gives us some room. If you'd looked at this area, particularly up where 13 is, where that storage is, if you looked at where that was, you would think that we couldn't build there or do anything with that deal. And the bottom line is that's already developed field. And so that gives us the ability to continue to maneuver around some of these issues.
We tried to keep that in mind when designing that, even though we can stay within those limits, if we don't have to, isn't that, much better? So you'll see, we didn't really do a whole lot where the existing dog park and the horseshoe area and even Olive Field 5 is. So like we were trying to be really, sensitive and play nicely, so to speak, because we do want to maintain that habitat and, respect the buffer areas. Now where it transitions, this is a brighter red, whether or not you can tell on the screen. I have a hard time telling, but this is a brighter red over here because that's our actual buffer and there's no current development out there. So we do want to stay out of that. So that's why the dog park and these nature paths kind of, meander and fill those spaces and don't go over. So
if I could, the question had come, could we make the nature trail path more active? We have to be very careful about that, but we think that could become a little more activated. You've probably seen them where there's like a park course where you can do some exercises and things of that nature. You could have benches, maybe even a picnic table here or there out there. Clearly, you can activate some of that, but where 10 is up there in the kind of the loop and all that stuff, you're in a pretty sensitive area there, and we wouldn't want to get really crazy in there and put in a pavilion, for picnic pavilion up there. We'd want to try to do that down in the lower area where we're less impacting. Also, we have the trees, we have a natural kind of environment there that seems to make sense to have sort of a barbecue and picnicking area there. But just that has come up as a question down the road as well. Could you do that? It's a very reasonable question to ask.
Yeah. So then continuing on, these still have the 3 ball fields that are, like I said, completely reoriented. We moved still the snack shack is still in the, center of the ball fields and, closer proximity to all the players on all the fields. Their batting cages stay in largely the same spot. We have maintained the existing snack shack, and is there a restroom there, I believe?
Restrooms there, yeah.
For, why get rid of perfectly good restrooms? Restrooms are really highly sought after, and we are still proposing new restrooms by the play area as well. So then this is the play area, and then a new picnic zone kind of underneath these trees with some barbecues and 4 picnic tables. let's see, what else have I missed? I think that, what's interesting about this one, and you'll see as I get into the phasing, is that we have made it so that the horseshoes can stay in their current location until there is an agreement with the city and they are relocated somewhere. So there's no lapse in play or, pit availability for them. So I'm going to get into the phasing. So because this is such a large site with several different uses going on. And like Matthew said, a lot of dominoes have to fall in the right place before we can get to things. We've come up with a phased approach. So there'll be 4 phases. Phase 1A here is in the yellow, is the parking lot and maintenance access. That is largely by the donor money. And then phase 1B, which the city would hope would happen relatively close to the same time, would be the dog park, the natural trail, the picnic areas, the playground, and the restrooms. And then phase 2 are the ball fields, right? Phase 3 are the sports courts. And then phase 4 is the multi-use field. And you can see it kind of has this little offshoot, and that's because we've done it so that, like I said, the horseshoes can stay until the very end. And that gives everyone enough time to kind of, like I said, figure out a new home and construct some pits for them. You'll see I have the estimate here by phase, which I think is really important to know. Phase 1A with the parking lot is at 2.76. Phase 1B with all this, dog park and restrooms and playground is at 4.7. Phase 2 with the baseball fields is 3.29. Phase 3 with just the sports courts is almost $1 million, just under. And then phase 4 for the synthetic turf is 4.91 with a total about, 16.6 million. So yeah, there's a lot of things that go into play. I have larger breakdowns, which I think was shared with you guys, but.
So if I could just point out, so none of their phase 1A kind of has to go first. After that, there really is not a magic necessarily to any of these. Obviously, Melanie has talked about the horseshoe club and everything with that, and that's something we'd have to look at. But for the most part, after phase 1A, these could go in any order in many respects to that point. So don't think of them in terms of they have to go in this order. We could also see, phase 2, phase 1B go at the same time, depending on funding. I should say also that this kind of plan and this work, and ultimately even following through with the CDP, certainly makes us far more competitive for grant applications like the Prop 68 dollars. So these are important, I think, moving forward to understand where we are and what kind of needs are out there and how we can look at other funding sources to match local funds that are available out there. But just keep in mind, these estimates are also, very ballpark. They are, they're good because Melanie and her crew are building parks and seeing parks built and dealing with it. So we're getting good estimates of what real construction costs are right now. We have a civil engineer, Friar Loretta, that was involved in this, who understand and know what the civil side of this, what stormwater, what asphalt, what things are costing right now. So, I think this is a very, very good estimate, rough estimate of what the costs are, but they are at a concept level. I just want to be clear, to get into that. And some things will change, some things may not change, some things may be less, who knows?
No one has a crystal ball, and I'm sure everyone has heard inflation and all the good stuff. So we just really tried to give you as best of and a most realistic number as we could. So that as you're planning, because this is a roadmap. This isn't the construction documents, but as you're planning, you have some solid numbers based on a bit of reality, at least right now, to move forward with. Yeah. So now I open it up to you guys for comments and the public as well.
So, should commissioners ask questions first and then public comment? Okay, great. Do you guys mind if I ask questions first?
And typically that's up to you. I just say typically those are, The normal course has been that those are clarifying questions, not detailed commentary. I'll leave that to you as the chair and as the commission, however you want to proceed with it. That's been the tradition, that they're clarifying questions and then allow the public and then basically make any broad, kind of policy statements.
Let's do it that way then. Okay, let's do it that way, because that way we can incorporate public feedback into our final thoughts. So just want to make sure that I understand can you explain the reason for adding additional parking on top of the initial strip? Is that just because the parking tends to always be full, or what was the thinking of why?
It's to provide equal and adequate parking for the dog park as well as the play area. So currently the dog park users,
and picnic and the picnic area. So part of that issue is you've got three pretty high demand areas there at times.
Okay, and so but the dog park currently is where it is then.
The dog park is currently right here.
Okay, so currently the dog park, when people take their dogs to the dog park, they're going from the one long strip, or they drive
right
up
here.
Got it.
They park right next to it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That is helpful. Okay, and then another clarifying question I had was around the turf. Are there any additional implications to replacing what is currently not turf with turf that need to be considered when building on the scale?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
I just right now it's just ground, and so any water that comes just goes into the ground. If we replace everything with turf, does it change how that process happens, like drainage and things like that? And are there restrictions on any of that?
It's all grading and drainage. There's drainage underneath it that then go to, areas they need to go to. I'm not well versed on if this is actually considered impervious and we have to treat it. But it's on a gravel course with full drainage that then takes the water elsewhere.
We certainly, the entirety of the site, one of the things that it does not meet, it does not have any kind of stormwater treatment. And so that's a big issue and a big reason for configuration by number 3 down there. You can see is stormwater treatment at that end and the loss of parking there that normally was there. But we're going to have to look at other areas of stormwater treatment. This sort of sheet flows toward the west, northwest. And so we're going to have to look at basically trying to capture and deal with that. So that's part of the challenge, but it's
okay.
It's
but
doable.
You guys are handling it.
But stormwater. We have to deal with stormwater treatment.
It's
okay, because I just don't want people to get in love with it and then it's not able to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are my. Oh, and then the last one is that the small dog park, the little loop in there is for small dogs?
I mean, this is just for planning, but we have it kind of here on the small area down here.
Okay, great. So that's
whether or not it's that big, I don't know. We would have
clarifying that it was delineated, with some kind of protective barrier. Okay,
absolutely.
Any other commissioners have questions?
I have a comment. I just want to commend you, Melanie, on putting this together and taking our comments from the previous time and synthesizing, working it, manipulating it, and coming up with this new concept essentially. And I think it looks good. And I like what's staggering, of course, to me are these estimates. I mean, it just blows my mind that something like this should be costing in the ballpark that we're looking at. That's the part that really knocks me down, kind of thing. But as far as the ideas and the concept, I like what I'm seeing for sure. And and the phased. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to. There'll probably be a lot of interesting, feedback when it comes to number 8 as to what that should be. But I really like the whole sports complex park idea. So I think that's all going in the right direction.
Awesome.
I mean, one clarifying question I had that occurred to me when you were talking about the cost of the area number 8 was just knowing that 3 beach volleyball courts cost like around $90,000. I was guessing that then pickleball courts and other paved courts cost a whole lot more.
Well, there's fencing and all those things, yes.
Okay.
And like the different asphalt surfacing types. Mm-hmm. And so we made some assumptions on what those are, and there are ways to, many ways to skin a cat, so to speak. So there could be some cost savings, but I mean, you're talking usually fencing and post footings and some post tension slabs if you're going to do it right. So yeah, they're a bit more than the sand volleyball.
Okay. Anyone else have clarifying questions?
I do not.
Okay. Then on to the public. Any public comments or questions? Are you seeing raised hands?
All right, we have Joyce Logan.
It's me again. I just want to thank Melanie and all of you for taking some of the concepts I proposed from my observations and incorporating them. I think this preferred concept incorporates an awful lot of good things for our community. So congratulations on this work.
Thank you for providing comments. I mean, yeah, that's awesome.
Any others?
All right, we have Anthony Sprati.
All right. So I'm treasurer with the Halfmoon Bay Little League. The league are the other entity that utilizes the fields. Did so last weekend. They do a Memorial Day tournament every Memorial Day, and they ran games on all 5 fields from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And losing 20% of our fields would definitely hurt their ability to continue something like that. On a league side, we were strapped for fields and moving games around all season long, and definitely seeing the loss of what is considered the nicest field that we have is disconcerting. But yeah, I just want to put those 2 cents in. I don't really have anything to question or say or other than that. I mean, it looks great. The league has donors lined up, kind of just waiting for some of the stuff, for you guys to kind of start the process, as we've, don't want to start getting coastal permits without you guys, because we're all volunteers. And yeah, that's about it. We also Field 5, the one that you guys are taking out. Just 3 years ago, the San Francisco Giants replaced all the dirt. So all the dirt there is actually from Oracle Park. And it's kind of a cool little feature that every time the kids go on that field, they get to go, hey, I'm playing on the same dirt that Brandon Crawford did, or Brandon Belt, or Buster Posey. Well, I mean, maybe not the new kids since Buster's gone, but you get the idea. So, I mean, it looks beautiful. But I know that the league would definitely be trying to figure something out if we were to lose that field. And then that's about it. Thanks.
just to say a comment on that comment is, you know, Anthony, we, of course, in this plan are looking to improve the other three fields here. So that's part of the, you know, that's part of the whole scheme.
And the multi-use field would be multi-use and be lined for baseball and softball. So this field could be utilized by baseball if needed.
I mean, I'd just say we're happy to continue a dialogue, and I don't think anybody's surprised by concern, although this had been shown at different times, I think, in our communications with them, and there hadn't been as much pushback. I understand for tournament play. I've been at tournaments where basically the high school field, for example, was used where you needed to have the juniors playing on a field, and that was in another location, even not convenient as one would like sometimes, but sometimes that's just for tournament play. It is a different world a little bit with that. But you know, this is the trade-offs that come out there with it to try to make improvements and go forward. Obviously most of that Field 5 issue, or what's Little League Field 5, would come at a much later time, and you know, would certainly, the field would remain in that location and that point until such time as it was decided that we should go to this other option. So I think that the good news on that is there is time to ponder that. Obviously 1A has some implications with the paved area up by where the 2 is, but we could certainly work around some of those issues. That's at a very conceptual level.
Absolutely.
To get to that point and deal with it. So I think much like the horseshoe fields, Field 5, I don't see being phased out in any time in the immediate future with that. And frankly, it might never get to that point. We'll see, but at least not immediate. And much like I think what we're talking about with the horseshoe folks, is that we're looking at a long-term vision. You know, the numbers of kids playing baseball I'm aware have been dwindling everywhere, including I think at Half Moon Bay Little League. It's hopefully, my hope is, because I love baseball and grew up with it, my son grew up with it, I'm hoping that as our pastime it remains. But I think there's a lot of work to be done to try to make and get the youth involved in that. And, so those are just, I think my basic takeaway from this point is that I think there's a lot of good here, and we can move it forward and kind of go from there. But understand there's some hesitancy on their part, on the Little League's part.
Yeah.
And just a clarifying question on that. So are you saying that if they make the Phase 1A pavement walk that goes up to the very top there, that then Field 5 that's currently in that location, would that be impacted or not impacted?
If you go back to the other,
we could not do this little piece and it would not be impacted.
We'll go look at the other plan right there. You can see the outline of the fencing and some of the stands, and we might have to modify stands around a little bit. But I think basically the field itself, the infield, the outfield, everything would remain. I think what we're looking at is some potential encroachment of where the stands are today, and we might have to look at some redesign there, or we look at some redesign of a bow out there to preserve it and deal with it and still keep the access point there. So 13, where that one, we wouldn't have the storage there. We would probably be looking at just the storage over there. The issue here is Little League also needs storage and kind of looking at that. So this was intended not just for our partners, because this isn't really the city's storage. This is for some of our partners like Senior Coastsiders, but it's also for the Little League who have traditionally used these storage areas as well. So in any event, we can work around that. That's a very linear drive there, but it doesn't have to be that linear. We can work around Field 5 and for an interim period, even with 1A being built.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure, understand.
Yeah, no.
Okay, it looks like we have Anthony Sprati again. Go ahead, Anthony.
And I didn't want to say it, I think it's great. I think that definitely the league could utilize what is now 3 as something, if it's turfed out, it's on where 7 is now, as running multiple of the little, the younger kids games on that, right? So we're not, but I guess our field 5A is the nicest. B for the little league, not the juniors level, which is field 4, is bigger than field 2. So it is a little bit more suited for the 12-year-olds that are a little bit Babe Ruthian, I guess. So I guess the league would most likely want to look at when we get into, I guess, phase 2, seeing if we could simulate. I mean, if we're definitely going to do this, simulate some of the dimensions on 5 into 2, or into what's field 2 now. But yeah, I think, I mean, personally, it's kind of everything that the league has been, kind of, if we had the money, if we had $14 million lying around, something we definitely look into. And then just, one of the other things is, we were strapped to the point where we have started to reach out to the school district to try and utilize the Cunha field as well. So, it looks great. And I know that we'll be disappointed losing a field, but I think that if we can make it work, we'll make it work.
Great. And just for clarification for the commission and the community, what we were looking at with field 3 was the idea, which Anthony sort of spoke to, is allowing flexibility to allow the juniors as well as dimension it and potentially put in temporary fencing there that would allow for the majors to go in and play. So they could use 2 different age groups in there, ultimately use the field and deal with that. That's the vision. There's some logistics that always goes with that, but I've seen it done, there's time enough to think about it, evolve, and work through it and figure out what makes the most sense in the long run. I think that's all we've been asking for, is the opportunity to share a vision, think about it, and figure out where we go from here.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Are there any other public comments?
No other public comments.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess the last question that I have after hearing the public comments is just to clear. I mean, I very much think that if the city is kind of the organizing body that's helping to create this more of the sports complex feel, it does make sense to try to incorporate elements that that sort of serve a larger swath of the Half Moon Bay population than just baseball. So I do feel like that is something that's very valuable and worth considering. And I guess I also, though, feel that I want to make sure that there have been continuing conversations with the baseball people. And it sounds, Sean, like there have been. So
there has been.
Yeah. I mean, I just think we need
I think you heard Anthony say, look, we want to work with you. We're happy to see planning going on here and the opportunity to look at these fields and improving, this project and making it better in dealing with that. And that's what the comments and the conversations have been. Melanie can speak to that. But this has been a very cordial and a very collaborative working relationship with them. And I think Anthony raised an important point. That this comes with some pain for them, which was the idea of eventually losing Field 5. But the trade-offs at some point, I think, probably outweigh that use. But that's going to be a call for the community at some point to make that decision on whether that is the right thing to do.
Okay. So would others like to comment further on the commission?
No.
Wait till the end.
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
All right. So with that, I will make the motion to that the commission that we recommend this facilities master plan to the council for consideration.
Second.
Okay, let's do a vote. Commissioner Eisen,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Eisen,
Yes.
Chair Stamper,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. There's always going to be some pain with these kind of things, but again, John said it, the trade-offs. You know, the baseball folks are looking at three, new revised, three fresh new revised fields in this plan, which is a great thing to have. Plus families who can come and the younger kids can play in a playground or do other things in the other areas. So it just makes it much more of a bigger community sports complex. And I think that given our small footprint in terms of our geography and how many flat type of fields that we have to do this kind of thing on, we all need to compromise and figure what's best for the whole community. And that's what it comes down to.
Agreed. I think it's a big community win. Everybody will benefit.
Yeah.
Even with the pain points, I agree.
Right.
It's part of the process. I appreciate the comments.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank John and Melanie, especially obviously the commissioners as well in the community for making time to do this tonight. Melanie, we are incredibly, I'm humbled by what you've accomplished here. We all think we're great at this stuff, but I certainly did not have the vision for what you were able to come with. And, this is why we hire consultants, because
It's had great input though. Couldn't get here without y'all.
So just really grateful for the work. And John, this is a labor of love for him. And I think this is just fantastic. And we're hopeful that the donor continues to stay engaged in this process and helps move this forward. But, even if they didn't, it was the kick in the pants we needed to get this moving forward and prioritized. And now we're seeing a plan come out that I think the community can get behind. So thank you, everybody.
Exciting.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to build it now.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Where's our
Me too. Me too.
John and I were talking, though, we'll point out when 880 Stone Pine was first purchased by the city 15 years ago for a community park that contained a lot of the features we're talking about tonight, the estimates for that 15 years ago were $16 million. So it's actually pretty amazing that those estimates are coming in the same. And, part of it probably has to do with some existing infrastructure and, a good site. But, it is, I think, as you said, Paulette, it's a little shocking when you first see it. But for a project, from beginning to end, you think of what it looks like at the end. I think it's actually pretty reasonable. And I'm hopeful that we can get the support we need. And maybe this is the type of project that the community gets behind borrowing money for, and taking some of our current revenues and putting it towards the future. So very exciting stuff and lots more to come. As far as the future items preview, not a lot planned yet for our June meeting. Had to get through this meeting. I suspect we'll have a nice update from our volleyball subcommittee. We've got some good stuff going on there, including the beach courts up at Poplar Beach, which is super exciting, and I know they're already getting use.
It's so exciting. They're so full, even on like the middle of the day on a Monday, the day after we put them in.
Yeah, who needs to be at school? You should be at the beach playing volleyball.
Awesome, you guys.
That's just great.
It just like burst my heart with happiness.
Yeah.
That's just great.
So we'll work on some other things to make it a good meeting, and then of course. In July,
do you think by that time the statue will be gone?
John, do we think the statue will be removed from Carter Park by then? By the end of this month?
I'm certainly hopeful. We're working with the adjoining property owner to try to confirm access issues and everything, so we can get to the park and get with the contractors and construction. So we've been working over some time. Matthew has been involved in that, and I trust between he and sorry, the sun is just killing me here in my office. There we go. That we will get that taken care of and addressed and everything very, very quickly. But it's going to have to come out very quickly. So it'll be one of the first things they remove and deal with.
If it's out by June, we'll bring some pictures for you.
Right. Yeah. Well,
if it's not out by mid-July, I'm going to bring my own hammer and chisel and just take care of it one piece at a time.
I will join you. Let me know.
And we'll sell pieces of it to
I want to commend Commissioner Eisen for not doing that already. I fully expected her to come in the dark of the night years ago and do it.
There you go.
Okay. Any report outs from commissioners? Any meetings you've attended or events you've attended that you wanted to report out on?
I can't remember. Maybe since the last meeting, the volleyball committee did meet with the high school. And so the next steps are creating this like document that has specs for creation of volleyball courts. And Mike, the high school volleyball coach, Lawrence, who's the another club volleyball coach in the area, and I have been emailing each other with designs. And so we're just trying to finalize something that we could put together as a package for the school. And do I need to give that to you first, Matthew?
Before we go to the school?
Before the school?
No, this is a collaborative process, so it can go to them. It's their properties, so kind of find something that works for them, and then we can figure out what the city's role will be.
Okay, yeah. So that's happening, and it's just things have been like really busy, so it's not done yet. But that's really the next phase, is giving the school the specs, and then again, the volleyball courts went up. Multiple events have been hosted there already of just like casual teenager games that thrill me, because it's exactly the reason why we put these things up, to get people outside having fun. Mental health, yay.
Should we have our own kickball team? Parks and Rec Commission kickball team?
I'm pretty competitive myself, so if you're up for that, I'm up for it.
I think there are some slots still. I think the June one is full, but I think there's some slots in July.
Interesting.
It apparently is very, very well attended, and people. Yeah. Our rec staff had the vision. I kind of thought, yeah, that sounds like fun. Oh man, it's a big deal. It is a big deal out there.
It was a really big deal.
Oh, Maggie had a team. That's right.
I participated, and it was very serious. There was.
Okay, good. If it's serious, we good.
It was very serious.
I'm in. Let's do it.
And I don't think we've had any major injuries yet. So
all right.
That's good. That's good.
I understand that there was almost an all-out brawl there between them. So that's how serious it got there.
Wow.
Don't,
Well, I
don't
don't
say
know
that.
if we won.
Yeah.
Only in a good way. Only in a good way.
All right.
Good brawl. Okay. All right. And, maybe Commissioner Ison, can you report out on the Carter Park groundbreaking that you attended?
Oh, yeah, the Carter Park. Well, this was just a wonderful event. I think it's one of the best events the city has put together. Everything from the food, which was great, is a little catered affair. Berman, he was wonderful, totally enthusiastic, gave a great speech, made all the rounds, talked to everybody. It was a beautiful day, and it was nicely attended. The high school jazz band was playing, added a wonderful atmosphere to the whole thing, and it was just a very classy, great breaking ground of this performance park that we're putting together, and it just was very fitting. And the Carter family was there, which was also very sweet. So they were acknowledged and given because. And the nice thing is, when I talked to them, they told me that their father, who was the mayor, and who's the park is named after, that he would be very happy with what we're doing to the park. And that was the nicest thing. That was at the very end that I was talking to them, and that just sort of tied it all together for me. And it was just like very, very nice that we are moving forward in this way, and that they feel that this is just they said he would love this. So
that's great.
Really nice event. Sorry the rest of you weren't there, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It was a good event for retirees.
That's right.
Yes, it was at a hard time if you have work during the day.
We had to build that around Mark Berman's schedule.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for going.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that seems like a good way to end this meeting tonight, unless Chair Stamper, you have anything else you want to add, or?
No.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in 3 weeks.
Okay, great.
See everyone soon.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.